Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to unpack the research and bring you the core insights. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the life of Ignaz Semmelweis. He's someone whose work saved countless lives, but his own story ended in rejection and, frankly, tragedy.
It really is one of the most striking stories in medical history.
Yeah.
We need to picture Vienna, mid-19th century. Medicine felt advanced, but germ theory, that wasn't even on the radar yet. And they were facing this terrible mystery, puerperal fever or childbed fever. It was just devastating maternity wards.
Yeah, so our mission today is to look at how Semmelweis made this incredible life-saving discovery using just observation, just data. And maybe more importantly, why the medical establishment pushed back so hard against evidence that seems, well, obvious to us now.
It's a story about how hard it can be to change established thinking, even when lives are at stake.
Let's start at the beginning. Who was Semmelweis? Where did he come from?
Okay, so he was born in Buda, Hungary, back in 1818. Educated man. He actually started studying law in Vienna.
Law. Interesting detour.
Right. But then he switched to medicine, got his degree in 1844, and ended up specializing in obstetrics.
And that led him to a pretty significant position in 1846, right? Assistant at the first obstetrical clinic in Vienna's General Hospital.
Exactly. And the setup there is really central to the whole story. The hospital had two maternity clinics. Two clinics, side by side, pretty much the same structurally.
But the outcomes, they were wildly different. That's the core mystery he walked into.
Wild, this is the right word. The first clinic, this is the one staffed by doctors and medical students. The teaching clinic, it was terrifyingly dangerous. The maternal death rate there was often around, say, 13 to 18%. Sometimes, according to records, it spiked even higher, maybe nearing a third of all women admitted.
A 1 in 3 chance of dying after childbirth in a hospital. That's staggering. But hang on, if the difference was that stark 18% versus the other clinic, why wasn't that data alone enough? Why did it take a specific event later for the light bulb moment?
That's a fantastic point. It really speaks volumes about the mindset then. They saw the numbers, but they just couldn't accept the cause might be. Well, them. They blamed everything else. Bad air, the miasma theory, overcrowding, diet, climate.
Yeah.
Even, and this is almost unbelievable, the psychological impact of a priest walking through the ward.
The priest giving last rites. They thought that was scaring women to death, rather than, the actual infection.
They were grasping at straws, looking anywhere but their own procedures.
And people knew, didn't they? The public, the women themselves?
Oh, absolutely. The second clinic, the one staffed only by midwives, had a consistently low death rate, maybe 2 to 4%. Normal for the time.
So the difference was common knowledge.
Yes, women were terrified of the first clinic. Apparently they'd begged not to be sent there. Some even chose to give birth on the street, figuring their chances were better outside the doctor's clinic.
Giving birth in an alley seems safer than the main teaching hospital. That says everything.
It really does. And Semmelweis, unlike his bosses, wasn't satisfied with the standard excuses. He started methodically ruling things out. It wasn't the climate, wasn't overcrowding, definitely wasn't the priest.
He was looking for the real variable. And then came the trigger event in March 1847.
Yes, a tragic but pivotal moment. His friend and colleague, Professor Jacob Kolechka, he died.
How? What happened?
During an autopsy, a student accidentally pricked Kolechka's finger with a scalpel, just a small cut. But he developed this raging infection and died soon after.
And Semmelweis saw the autopsy report.
He did. And this was the key. Kolechka's internal pathology, the signs of the infection. Semmelweis realized it looked identical, pathologically speaking, to what he saw in the women dying from childbed fever.
The same disease process.
Exactly. The connection clicked. Autopsies. Cadavers.
So he put it together. The medical students were going directly from dissecting cadavers in the autopsy room
To the maternity ward, examining expectant mothers without washing their hands effectively. He theorized they were carrying what he called cadaverous particles or cadaverous matter on their hands.
And the midwives in the second clinic?
They didn't perform autopsies. Their hands weren't contaminated in the same way. It explained the difference perfectly.
He'd found the vector even without knowing about bacteria or viruses. He just knew something was being transferred.
He knew that doctors were the carriers. An incredibly brave and dangerous conclusion to reach about your own profession.
So what did he do? He had the theory, he had the correlation.
He acted immediately. In May 1847, he implemented a new rule, mandatory hand washing for all doctors and students between autopsy work and patient examinations.
Just soap and water.
No, and this is interesting. He specified a chlorinated lime solution, calcium hypochlorite.
Why that specifically? Bleach, essentially.
because it was known to be very effective at removing the foul, putrid smell from the autopsy tissues on their hands.
Ah, so it ties back to the prevailing theories in a way. He's fighting the bad smell or bad air idea by using something that eliminates odor.
Exactly. He was using an antiseptic, a germ killer, but justifying it, or perhaps choosing it, based on its deodorizing property, which fit somewhat into the miasma framework.
Mm.
It was kind of an accidental genius move, using the wrong reason to get the right result.
Fighting miasma with chemistry that actually killed germs. Okay, so what happened to the death rates?
The results were immediate and absolutely stunning. Dramatic doesn't even begin to cover it.
Give us the numbers.
Okay, so before hand washing, April 1847, the rate in the first clinic was 18.3%. 18%.
Unacceptable. And after?
After instituting the chlorinated lime wash, by 1848, the rate had plummeted to just 1.27%.
Wow, from 18% down to nearly 1%, almost instantly.
Pretty much on par with the midwife's clinic. Sources say there were even months with 0 deaths. Later, he extended the rule to disinfecting instruments too, and the rate dropped even further, settling at around 1%.
The data couldn't be clearer. Problem identified, solution implemented, problem solved. End of story, right?
You'd think so. But this is where the tragedy really begins. The evidence was empirical, it was undeniable, but it wasn't accepted.
Why not? The numbers were right there.
Well, several reasons. First, as we mentioned, germ theory didn't exist yet. Louis Pasteur's work was still years away, so Semmelweis had the something on the hands causes the fever, but not the scientific how or why. He couldn't explain what the cadaverous particles actually were.
So the existing scientific framework, the miasma theory, was just too dominant.
Very much so.
Yeah.
His findings didn't fit the accepted model of disease being caused by bad air or foul vapors. A simple chemical wash seemed too simplistic, maybe. It contradicted this whole complex established idea.
And there was another layer, too, wasn't there? Something more personal.
Oh, yes. Professional pride. Huge factor.
Mhm.
You have to remember the status of doctors in the 19th century. They were gentlemen.
Right, the idea that their hands, the hands of educated gentlemen doing important scientific work like autopsies, could be unclean, could be transmitting death.
It was deeply offensive to many. It implied they were dirty, that they were personally responsible for killing their patients.
I think I read a quote from an American doctor, Charles Meigs, basically saying, doctors are gentlemen and gentlemen's hands are clean. Just outright dismissal based on status.
Exactly that kind of arrogance. Powerful figures like the pathologist Rudolf Virchow also rejected his work. Semmelweis's own superior, Professor Klein, insisted the problem was bad ventilation, not dirty hands.
It seems incredible that professional offense could block such a life-saving, data-backed discovery. Does that kind of thing still happen? Do experts in fields today sometimes resist obvious fixes because it bruises their professional ego?
I think that's the enduring lesson here. It led to the concept of the Semmelweis reflex. That's the term for automatically rejecting new evidence or knowledge just because it contradicts your established beliefs or norms. They couldn't psychologically accept they'd been inadvertently harming patients. It was easier to dismiss the data as flawed or a coincidence.
And Semmelweis himself, apparently he didn't help his own cause much in terms of communication.
No, he really didn't. He was passionate, obviously, maybe obsessed, but he struggled to communicate effectively with the establishment. Get this. He didn't publish his main findings in a comprehensive book until 1861. That's 14 years after the initial discovery.
14 years. What was he doing instead?
Well, instead of careful scientific publication and debate, he started writing these increasingly angry, accusatory open letters to prominent obstetricians across Europe,
What kind of letters?
calling them negligent, irresponsible, even murderers if they refused to adopt hand washing. He basically alienated everyone, even potential allies.
So his confrontational style backfired.
Massively. It just gave his critics more reason to dismiss him as unstable or unscientific. Combined with some political factors, he was associated with the losing side of the 1848 revolutions. His position in Vienna became untenable.
And they let him go.
Professor Klein made sure his contract wasn't renewed in 1849. Semmelweis basically felt forced out and left Vienna quite abruptly, returning to Pest in Hungary in 1850.
Did he give up then?
Not at all. He got positioned at St. Rochus Hospital in Pest. Unpaid initially, I believe, but he took charge of the maternity ward and immediately implemented his hand-washing protocols.
And the result?
Same stunning success. He slashed the death rate there to below 1%, around 0.85% between 1851 and 1855. More proof.
Proof that the wider medical world continued to ignore.
Largely, yes. And this constant rejection, the isolation, knowing he had the answer and nobody would listen,
Yeah.
It inevitably took a devastating toll on his mental health over the years.
How did it manifest?
Reports suggest severe depression, bouts of anger, memory loss, paranoia. His public behavior became increasingly erratic. It's a very sad decline.
Which led to the final tragic chapter in 1865.
Yes. His colleagues, and possibly his family, perhaps seeing him as unstable and an embarrassment, arranged to have him committed to a mental asylum in Vienna, ironically.
And he died there very shortly after, didn't he?
Just 2 weeks later, August 13th, 1865, he was only 47.
And the cause of death? This is the heartbreaking part.
The ultimate cruel irony. He died of pymia blood poisoning from an infected wound on his right hand.
A wound likely sustained how?
It's believed he was beaten by guards at the asylum, possibly during his committal or shortly after, causing an injury that became gangrenous.
So he died from the very type of infection, the sepsis, that he had dedicated his life to preventing in new mothers.
Exactly. A victim of the same kind of process he fought against.
And it was only after his death that his ideas finally gained ground.
Yes. The world needed that missing piece, the scientific explanation, when Louis Pasteur confirmed the germ theory of disease, demonstrating how microbes caused illness.
That provided the mechanism for Semmelweis's cadaverous particles.
Precisely. And then Joseph Lister, building on Pasteur's work and explicitly crediting Semmelweis, developed antiseptic surgery using carbolic acid to kill germs.
So Pasteur provided the why, and Lister provided the practical application in surgery, validating Semmelweis's earlier, purely observational findings.
And Lister was very clear about acknowledging Semmelweis's pioneering work. So, posthumously, Semmelweis was vindicated.
And today, how is he remembered?
Today, he's universally recognized, known as the Saviour of Mothers, a pioneer of antiseptic policy. His work is fundamental in medical training. His birthplace in Budapest is now the Semmelweis Museum of Medical History.
So wrapping this up, the key takeaway for you, the listener, isn't just about washing hands. It's about this conflict between clear empirical evidence, those undeniable death rates, and the resistance from entrenched beliefs and professional identity.
Semmelweis had the numbers, but he lacked the accepted theory of the day, and he challenged the status quo in a way the establishment couldn't handle.
Which brings us back to that term you mentioned earlier.
The Semmelweis reflex, that tendency we all might have, that knee-jerk reaction to reject new information simply because it contradicts what we already think we know, or because it makes us uncomfortable.
His critics clung to miasma theory and their self-image so tightly they ignored the dying women right in front of them.
It shows that science needs more than just data. It needs open minds and sometimes humility.
Semmelweis's story is a stark reminder that curiosity, observation, clear communication, these are vital. But even today, new knowledge that challenges assumptions can face fierce resistance.
And that leads us to our final thought for you. Semmelweis was eventually proven right by germ theory. But think about your own world, your work, maybe even your daily life. What simple, perhaps obvious improvement or truth might be blocked right now, not by lack of evidence, but by a hidden Semmelweis reflex, an entrenched belief that says we've always done it this way or experts shouldn't have to change.
That resistance, that lack of humility can be the biggest barrier. Keep digging, keep questioning.
Until next time.